Well, thank you all for joining us today for Virtually Speaking webinar on company culture, becoming the workplace of choice. You'll find today's webinar recording on our YouTube channel, linked on our webpage, tnworks.org, along with all past Virtually Speaking webinars in our online library. All who registered for today's webinar will receive an email with a link to the recording as well as webinar materials. As questions arise during the webinar, please go ahead and enter them in the Q&A box, and we will cover them at the end of the presentation during the question and answer segment of the webinar. We encourage you to follow us on social media for future topics and events. Our Facebook is American Job Centers of Northwest Tennessee, American Job Centers of Southwest Tennessee, and American Job Center Greater Memphis. I'd like to introduce you to today's panelist. First off, we have Dr. Leah Gray, who is an accomplished leader and educator with more than 2 decades of experience across education, healthcare, public safety, and organizational leadership. She serves as assistant professor of management at Freed-Hardeman University, teaching human resources management and leadership, and has held senior leadership roles, including director of program innovation, director of the Lifetime Learning Center, and director of human resources safety and security. Dr. Gray also served as Tennessee's program manager for the National Alliance on Mental Illness, building crisis intervention teams with law enforcement and mental health partners statewide. In addition to her academic and achievement work, she has over 15 years experience in emergency medical services and fire services, as well as corporate HR leadership across multiple states. She holds a BBA in Human Resource Management, an MA in Organizational Management, a graduate certificate in Criminal Justice, and a doctorate of Health Sciences, and is a master trainer in the Memphis Model Crisis Intervention Program, a certified mediator, and a graduate of Leadership Gibson County and Leadership Madison County and West Star. So we are super excited to have Dr. Gray with us. We additionally have Kent Carter. He is an advocate dedicated to helping individuals and organizations achieve their vision and performance for career and life fulfillment. He shared his insights at HR conferences, SHRM, Tennessee Safety Congress, and Tennessee Chamber of Commerce. While Director of Human Resources for the Marvin Companies for over 20 years, his company achieved recognition for workplace culture, wellness, and safety excellence. Awards and activities include the Tennessee SHRM HR Management Excellence Award, SHRM Chapter President, Lauderdale County ECD, Tennessee Chamber of Commerce, and Industry, and the Governor's TOSHA Advisory Council. Kent holds a BBA from Freed-Hardeman University and an MA from the University of North Alabama. So as you can see, we have very qualified panelists today to talk to you about company culture. We are so thankful to have their expertise with us. And without further delay, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Gray to kick us off.
Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate it. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me today. So I'm going to get real honest with you real quick during this presentation. I started my career in human resources in 1997. And I came with a Gen X style of management. I am a very strong Gen Xer, very strong type A. I was raised in an environment, you have a job to do, and I expect you to do that job. If you don't like it, suck it up, buttercup. And that was kind of the way that I approached being in management, was if an employee was not doing their job, then we were going to have a pretty stern conversation. And I led that away for a couple of years, and that was very similar to the managers that I worked around as well. When I left retail and manufacturing and went into education, I had an opportunity to attend the 40-hour crisis intervention training that is offered across the United States. It's based on an incident that occurred in Memphis, Tennessee back in the 80s, and it was geared toward law enforcement officers and has since expanded to first responders, and I also recommend it for managers. The main purpose is to teach how to de-escalate crisis situations, mainly stemming from mental health crises. But I will tell you, I use it every single day, whether it's with my students, I have 3 children. I will use it with them. Use it all the time. It was designed to de-escalate and keep people out of jail that didn't need to be there. And the way I look at it now, it's designed to keep people out of trouble that don't necessarily need to be in trouble because they're having something go on outside of their control. So when we think about what makes us stressed out, in a business situation. For me, I cannot stand performance reviews. I will give performance reviews any day of the week. When it comes time for mine, I'm stressed out and I go into that meeting defensive. If my manager says or my dean says, Leah, I need to see you, come by my office, I immediately go into, okay, what did I do to screw up? So I go in there stressed. And here's what that means to you when your employees respond that same way, good, bad, or otherwise. Their amygdala is kicking in to the fight or flight mode. That's our self-defense. And when it senses danger, it can be criticism, it can be embarrassment, it can be I'm getting written up for something that maybe I didn't do. They go from that logical thinking in their body over to the fight or flight side, which means they're not necessarily thinking logically. And I'm not thinking logically when I go into my performance review because I'm so defensive. So, what I want you to keep in mind when your employees are stressed, they're in the fight or flight mode. They're probably not listening to what you say. They're ready to come back with a reason why they're right, etc. When they are calm and they are relaxed and they feel as though they're being accepted, they are going into their thinking mode where they can think clearly. They're much better decision makers. They're much better problem solvers. So I'm going to get into some steps that you can take to de-escalate your employees. Even when you think they may not need to be de-escalated, it will help the overall situation. And I know we're talking about company culture, so I wanted to go over some statistics as to why this method of approach can work for you. And it takes time to learn. I do want to stress that. When I started using this, and even to this day, I catch myself going back to my default, back to the way I was raised early on, the way I responded to things early on. But then I remember I need to switch over and do some of these things that I'm going to talk to you about. But first, let's talk about the benefits. So 50%, you can see a 50% increase in employee retention for prioritizing psychological safety. And that's what we're talking about. You can also have a 23% higher profitability when you engage your employees and they feel connected to your business. For those in manufacturing, you're looking at an 18% boost in production for employees that feel safe to admit when they've made mistakes or challenge ideas or policies or procedures that are coming out. And they learn how to do that constructively through some of this response. So let's put you in a situation. You have an employee that comes in, they are agitated about something, and maybe they catch you in the middle of doing something very important. Working in emergency services, I learned the importance of the 2-second pause. So even with my children, even with my students, if they come in and they're obviously agitated or concerned about something or not in that logical portion of their brain, I'm going to pause for 2 seconds because I need to get my face in check because I'm not the most welcoming face for them to approach. So I need to get that in check. Then I'm going to listen to them. And the most important thing you can do at this point is recognize that person's emotions, whatever it may be. It may be frustration. It may be anger. It may be stress. It may be sadness. It may be depression. Whatever it is, I want you to recognize that emotion. What I don't want you to do is use the term, I just need you to calm down. Just calm down. Calm down has never worked in the history of man. If you are married and you're female and your spouse tells you to calm down, what is your normal reaction? It's to escalate, it's to get madder. So we want to take that out of our vocabulary. We also want to take out just relax, okay? Just relax. Whenever somebody tells me just relax, I automatically tense up more. It just happens. Or they tell me, Leah, I just need you to breathe. Take a breath. I cannot do that. Then I can't get my breath, which leads me into a panic attack, and I just have more of an issue. So we're going to take out calm down, relax, and breathe. We're also going to take out the question, why? You don't want to use the question why if you can keep from it. Why is accusatory, and why can open a can of worms that you do not want to open. You want to know what in that instance has caused the issue. Okay, let's go back to the emotional thing, because what I have found when I teach these techniques is we are great at not asking why. We're great for the most part at not saying calm down, etc. We're absolutely horrible at recognizing the emotion, mainly because if you are in a management position, you are a fixer. You want to come up with the ideas to help your employees and help fix them or help fix the situation. And in times of stress, sometimes they don't need fixing. So remember too, because from working in human resources, I always worried about making the employee seem as though they were correct when they did something obviously wrong. You can validate the emotion without agreeing to the appropriateness of the action or the complaint that they have. So when we talk about recognizing that emotion, that's called empathy. And I want you to realize empathy affects the body and the brain, not just the emotions. So when people receive empathy, their stress hormone decreases, their nervous system calms. You'll see the shoulders go down in a more relaxed state. That defense system that they have, the one that I'm coming into the performance review with because I'm ready to defend my actions and what I've done, all that starts to lower. It's like a biological calming mechanism, similar to going into a hot room and turning down the temperature. So we're causing our employees to relax. So when people become defensive in meetings, or they shut down, or they get angry or argumentative, you can use some of these techniques to recognize the emotion. So let's use an example. Somebody comes in, they're telling you, so-and-so called my mama fat. I never thought that was a thing until I actually had an employee come in one time. They were upset because somebody was talking about their mama. So these things really happen. I get that. So giving what you experience, I can kind of understand why you would feel that way. I would probably be mad too if somebody started talking about my mom. Instantly, when I do that, I'm not saying it was appropriate to talk about your mom or not appropriate or whatever. I just I understand why you're upset about that. If I were in your position, I might have some concern too. So notice we're not offering fix-its. We're not doing anything other than recognizing that emotion. When somebody comes in with that type of situation, we've had those before, where it's not that serious to us, sometimes we have a tendency to turn around and look at them and go, do you think you're just overreacting? That sends them, typically in my experience, into a spiral. So instead of saying that, I've reverted to, I can see this decision seems sudden and it seems frustrating. Tell me what concerns you the most about it. Not why are you concerned about it, but tell me what concerns you have. Let's list those. Let's talk about those. And then as they go through those concerns, what concerns you about that? What's the base? What's the root cause? We always talk about root cause. Let's get to the root cause of that. Are they afraid their job may go away with the implementation of AI? Let's talk about how your job's not going to go away because of AI and what you can do to make sure that that doesn't happen. I can see why the situation is frustrating. It sounds like you're concerned about how this is going to affect you and your team. Is that correct? So asking, is that correct, helps again make sure you understand exactly what's going on. And once emotions settle, you can then go into the problem solving mode. But here's what I want you to do with the problem solving mode. Let them become the problem solvers. One of the things I do in the classroom environment is we go over how to do performance reviews. We go over how to do employee counseling sessions, write-ups, those types of things. And students are automatically programmed to go into, okay, I'm calling you into the office today because your attendance has not been good. I encourage them not to take that approach, to build more rapport at the beginning of the meeting and to approach it more of a casual conversation. So, Bob, tell me how work's been going. What do you like most about working here? What would you like to change? Have you had any struggles? Anything that concerns you? Yes, it may take me down a rabbit hole, but sometimes that can give me some clues as to why they're struggling with attendance. If they don't hit on attendance, then I have a tendency to go, so Bob, I've been looking at your attendance record. Looks like you've missed a couple of days. Looks like you've been late a couple of days. Is that accurate? Yes, that's accurate. Tell me what's going on. What can you do to improve this, or what can I do to help you improve this? I refrain from using the word we. Um, it's just personal preference because I want them to have some responsibility. I may have some responsibility. So how do you think we could go forward with this? How do you think you could move forward with your attendance issue? What do you think I can do to help hold you accountable for this? Finally, the last thing I want you to remember, less talking is much more effective. Less talking on your part is much more effective. Sit and listen. Let that employee feel heard. Because again, when they feel heard, when they feel valued in the organization, you're going to see that change across the board. You're going to see it in the way the employees come to work. They're going to have better attitudes. They're going to get there on time. They're going to show up. But you have to take that step to make them feel cared about. And to do that, being empathetic, being a good listener, helping them solve their own problems and us not dictating to them how to solve theirs. So implementing some of these steps, don't use words calm down, don't ask why, don't say just breathe. Use the understanding. What can I do to help you? What do you think we can do as a company to help you succeed? You have the potential. Implementing these things can have a direct positive impact on your company's culture and your company's bottom line. So I hope if you have any questions, I went through a 40-hour CIT course. You're getting a 15-minute fast and furious. These are a few things that you can do. Across the state of Tennessee, there are CIT courses. I encourage you to reach out, look for those. Have people come in and talk to you about better ways to communicate. Sometimes we miss that. We think we're good communicators. I know I have thought I was a good communicator, and then when I asked for feedback, what did I tell you? It was a completely different message. So those little things can help improve your company culture. Now, for more information on company culture, I'm going to turn it over to HR extraordinaire, Mr. Kent Carter. So Kent, it's all yours.
Thank you, Dr. Great. Thank you for that nice introduction. I appreciate that. So it's my pleasure to be with everyone today to talk about company culture and a great place to work. And with that, I'll share a screen and we'll dive right in. Okay, so workplace culture, a great place to work. You know, I would ask you, you're probably thinking right now, what is my company or organizational culture like and how could we improve it? And it's just really important to remember that you are a part of your company culture. The actions that we take each day, the way we choose to respond to things, opportunities, challenges, that builds our company culture. And so whether you're a leader or not a leader, as an individual, you have an impact on your company culture. And everybody wants a company culture where, we show up and we're going to grow and thrive. We're going to feel like we matter. We're going to feel like we can do our best work every day and we can win. We can be successful. So that's a goal everybody has. I really enjoy working with clients on this. It's just fun, great stuff to be involved in. So with that, culture isn't just a perk, it's really a strategic advantage. Most people know it's the right thing to do. The Great Place to Work Institute uh, has conducted studies. There's many out there, but this is one just for example, where revenue growth is 4 times better than a poor company culture. Turnover rate is much lower as well. Employees, team members feel more engaged, and they're more likely to be an innovation leader. So there's great metrics around the reasons to have company culture. But the best reason of all is we just feel better and we look forward to work. We look forward to making a difference in our company culture. Um, and I would just, emphasize right here that culture isn't a slogan. Culture even isn't a mission statement. Now, a stated mission statement for your organization, your company or organizational values, those are important. It's important to identify those and for each leader and individual to be an example with those. But again, it just boils down to how we treat each other every day. So there are 5 pillars of company culture. Now, there could be more than these, but this seemed quite concise as I did the research for the presentation. One of those is trust and transparency. If we don't trust, it's hard to feel good about work and it's hard to be successful. And so the trust in leadership, I can believe what I'm told, trust in the individual, the colleagues that you work with every day. It's important that you are able to trust those colleagues in their competence to do a good job and in their character and their honesty. And do people feel like they can speak up? Very important. Is there a culture where there's a fear of retribution if I speak my mind professionally and respectfully? Or do I have opportunities to do that? And do the people in the organization take the opportunities to actually speak up when given that opportunity? Respect and belonging, really essential and another basic building block. Where do people feel valued? Do they feel respected? Are their opinions respectfully listened to and implemented when possible? And just a part of the team. Growth and development, again, people come to work to win and to do well. And do they feel like they're making a difference? Are they developing? Are there learning opportunities? How accessible are those learning opportunities and are they effective? It's one thing to have opportunities and it's quite another to for people to take advantage of them. Pride and purpose, do people believe in the mission of the organization? Do you know what your organization's mission is? If not, is there one out there you can go out and access? If you're in leadership, how well is that mission developed? Is it understood? Is it lived and reinforced and promoted each and every day? Very important that the mission and the organizational values be known and uh, made an example by behaviors. And then well-being and balance, mental health, flexibility, sustainable workloads. Everybody's busy. There are very few people that feel like they're not busy enough. And even with things like AI and other assistants, chances are our plates are going to stay full. But how do we sustain workloads? Do we share work? Can someone take a day off and not feel completely overwhelmed when they return from that day or that week's vacation? So that's very important. The ways organization can promote mental and physical well-being or emotional well-being and balance is very important as well. So we'll dive a little bit deeper in each one of those pillars just for a moment, maybe with a few examples sprinkled in. Open communication about decisions. Do people understand why decisions are made? Are they able to ask questions? Is there good two-way transparency and communication around that? The leaders follow through on commitments. Very important that we state goals and share a vision, but also we follow through and give answers. And if the answer is we're not able to do that right now, that's an honest answer that develops trust as well. So trust isn't just telling people what they want to hear, it's being honest with people in a professional, respectful way. And again, employees, the workforce feels safe in speaking up. I can speak up and my supervisor won't give me a hard time about it. And of course, part of that is that leadership ideal around sharing and open communication is healthy for an organization. Respect and belonging, behaviors, inclusive behaviors that value diverse perspectives. Probably the worst thing that can happen for a leadership team, let's say we have 7 people in a room, everybody agrees and there's no divergence of opinion. That's probably very unhealthy. So, a leadership team made up of different personalities, people with different backgrounds, different even with socioeconomic backgrounds. All of that is really important. A diverse team can be a very healthy team with diverse perspectives. Fair and consistent treatment across teams. So one ways organizations often fail here is you've got this high performer that can achieve, and they also don't treat people that well. But it's overlooked because they hit their numbers and they're a great performer. And that could be a leader, a supervisor, a manager, and so forth. It's really important that organizations view treatment of people as a performance metric equally as important as, let's say, production or quality, for example, and they're consistent with that. Recognition that reinforces dignity and respect. People love sharing about their families. I've seen an example of why safety is important, and people bring in a picture of their family, their kids or grandkids, and so forth. That's posted out in the work areas. Those tiny things can mean so much about respect, belonging, and recognition as well. Growth and development, do people know how they can grow? Do you know how you can grow? And if not, are you asking how you can grow? Are you taking responsibility for that? Does the workforce, do your coworkers have that opportunity and take the responsibility as well? Access to learning, training, and mentoring, job shadowing, the way we onboard people, very important. When someone is newly hired, are they treated respectfully as a newly valued team member? Are they trained well? Do they understand what's important and why it's important? Mentoring can be very effective as well for folks. And, learning from that employee that is a great example can really set someone up for success. Stretch assignments, it's really important for people to be given, I think, big, audacious goals. When you're really aiming high, shooting for the moon, so to speak, that can be really energizing for a team to set out stretch goals for those teams. Pride and purpose, strong connection to the daily mission. How is what I'm doing right now, how does that make a difference? It's the old example of the guy sweeping the floor, and there are 2 guys actually sweeping the floor, and one was asked, "What are you doing?" He said, "I'm cleaning up after everybody's mess." And the other guy was asked what he was doing. He says, "I'm helping support building a great product for our customers so they can be successful." So the second guy understood his value to the organization and how he was helping out and supporting that. So just how do we connect daily work to a mission is very important in that purpose. Purpose brings focus and brings quite a bit of joy and happiness to work. So understanding the impact of your organizations and pride in the organization and its values as well. Promoting pride, that can be part of a recognition program. And there are a number of ways to do recognition individually, peer recognition, nominated by leadership. All of those things have an opportunity, especially when someone has a lot of service with the organization. And they're a great example to their coworkers that can do wonders for culture. Well-being and balance. How do you and your organization promote emotional well-being in the workplace? And this goes way beyond an employee assistance program. It may be recognition or even maybe a day off with pay as a part of a recognition. Those can be very popular. Flexible work options when you can offer them to support life needs. Mental health and resilience. Some organizations have uh, people that are either chaplains or counselors walking the floor talking to people just to build those relationships. And sustainable workloads that prevent burnout, again, very important. So trust is essential for a great place to work. And we're not going to be perfect. There are no perfect places to work. But what can we do to build trust daily? Trust is developed. I love Covey's book about the speed of trust and would highly recommend it if you've not read it. That's Covey, The Speed of Trust. But that's built, Covey says, with competence and character. So if we can display competence and we know what we're doing and we do it reasonably well, and then our character is solid. They believe us when we say something. They think it's we're being honest. Then those gain credibility, respect, and fairness. And how do we get there? Well, some of many ways to get there is to communicate openly and explain things, explain why, and be honest, even with tough news or bad news, even when we have to say no, even when we have to deliver news that isn't that well received. Let's let the workforce hear it from leaders first, not the rumor mill. Right. So communicate openly, often, and explaining why. Follow through is very important. It's one thing to, let's say, do a survey and make a plan to make culture better. It's very important we follow through on that and we do what we say and acknowledge mistakes. Some of the fastest ways we as individuals or leaders can gain trust is to acknowledge, I didn't do that well. I think I can do better next time. Thank you for your input, for example. And then listen actively. People want to be heard. You and I want to be heard. And we want to have the opportunity to give that feedback. So we act on the feedback that we receive. So here's a sample culture action plan, and they can look a lot of different ways. This is just one as an example, is launch a culture survey. You can do some or all of these things in each category. But in the first quarter of your approach, you would do a survey, you'd hold focus groups, and you'd review exit interview data. Some people also do what's called stay interviews. Why do you work here and why have you stayed here? Whether it's 3 months, 3 years, or 30 years. What keeps you here? What do you like? And what can we improve? Quarter two could be a build and launch. That could be leadership training, always important, especially those first line supervisors. That's a tough job. They need our support from leadership. And you can do focus groups just with that group as well. But what do they need and develop and deliver? Recognition is always important. And keep in mind, recognition can be formal and it can be groups or it can be informal and individually. Thank people for what they do, specifically for what they did and how it helped the team and the organization. A mentoring program launch could be another part of a launch program. Quarter three would be a culture champions network. So think about those informal leaders in your organization that people look up to. Wouldn't it be powerful if they were recognized some way and maybe met together as a team, had a meal together, and they're probably non-leaders and the value and power of that peer influence. Values-based performance reviews. No one likes performance reviews, and we all typically are involved in them. So I would just say don't let them be limited to metrics, um, or non-behavioral metrics, but look for behavior-based examples and write those into your performance management system. Team rituals and celebrations as well. One thing I should say about performance here is company culture can be defined as who gets promoted and who gets let go. And that may sound a little bit blunt, but if we're looking the other way as leadership on that toxic person who performs well in all the other areas, then we're destroying our company culture. So we have to really work our values into the performance management system. Measure and evolve, pulse survey results, report progress to staff, set goals for next year could be another way to follow up there as well. And measuring what matters. So, this is an example of output from a survey. There's something called Net Promoter. That's the ENPS score. And this is a really powerful way. A lot of companies use this for customers. You can also use it for employees. And its data is measured and can be benchmarked nationally. So a net promoter score, in this example, it says plus 42, a retention rate 91%, and a 79% engagement score. Engagement surveys are a lot of companies that offer them, can define based on the questions. And you see on the left side, leadership, recognition, development, belonging, and trust. You can measure these things. You can do heat maps based on leader, how they compare to each other, red, yellow, green. Lots of great ways on measurement to measure your engagement. Another word for culture. So as I begin to wrap up here, I would just conclude by saying leaders model our values, but never forget that each individual is a leader by their example, and your leadership, regardless of your position, is really important by your influence. So we can model the values that we promote, the mission of our company, the way we want to treat each other. Expectations are set and reinforced. If expectations are not set and reinforced, we get the wild, wild west. And it's very hard to follow expectations. So it's very important to set those expectations and reinforce those. And when each employee lives them, each team member lives them, great things will happen. So that will conclude what I have to say. Part of what I do as a consultant is help organizations with this. It's been fun for me to deliver this to you guys. And now I think we're going to get into a Q&A session.
Thank you, Dr. Gray. Thank you, Kent. We appreciate all that information that you shared. We do have a few questions in the Q&A box, and please feel free to go ahead and continue adding your questions there as we go through these. We're not too tight on time, so if you have additional questions that you want to ask, just pop them in the box and we will get to those. Okay, the first question. It says, great information, Dr. Gray. Do you have a workshop for learning better communication we can attend coming up?
I actually have a CIT class coming up on March the 16th here at Freed. It is the 40-hour class, so it's Monday through Friday. You're welcome to email me for more information or send me your information. And if I have a shorter seminar coming up, I'd be happy to let you know that information. I just don't have one scheduled at this point that's shorter than the 40-hour.
Thank you. Okay, here's the next question. How do you implement respect in HR if you work in an environment that the owner or plant manager lacks respect for the employees or management team? So how do you as an HR person have that influence when it's lacking at the top? Or do you have any suggestions?
Yeah, this is a tough one for sure. And I've actually been there at times over a career. So I would first try to develop this best relationship with that plant manager, for example. And then think about company mission. Does the organization have a defined mission or value statements? And begin to work that into the relationship. That may or may not work. Sometimes there's other ways to influence that. If you can help that leader, in this case, let's say an owner, which is really a challenge, begin to see the tie-in from the metrics to great company culture, sometimes that's an effective message where if they feel, and maybe selfishly, it's in their own best interest for the performance of their company to have a great place to work, and we won't have as much turnover and quality will be better, for example, then you can bring them around. And it's an evolution. There's a chance you won't change the core person there, but there's also a chance that perhaps even for selfish reasons, they'll try to do the right thing. And if the goal though is a great place to work and great company culture, treating people with respect, then if an owner selfishly agrees to do that, that's a step, right? So that's what I've seen is tying that back into mission, values, and or company metrics.
Okay, the next question says stay interviews. Great idea. Do you find people are honest on the answers or just tell what they think you want to hear? They are certainly honest on exit interviews, but they want to know about stay interviews.
Oh, yeah. I mean, definitely you'll get over a sample of some folks trying to be nice and polite and everything's great. And so, I found that if you can develop a relationship where people feel like they can share with you and then perhaps offer and reinforce the anonymity aspect of a stay interview, some people will believe they can remain anonymous, and some people won't, regardless of whether that's true or not, right? And what you tell them. But still ask and give people the opportunity, and they'll decide how open and honest they want to be, but at least they've had that opportunity. And then continue to work and encourage, be it that relationship you have with that person, is that a good building relationship? Or even the company's approach, where we can actually take some feedback. We'll take group feedback. We won't identify any person. We'll develop themes. We'll take these actions. When people begin to see some actions and you have to remind them sometimes we implemented X, we did Y, we did Z. Then they start becoming believers and perhaps will open up more over time.
How can leadership improve company culture when CEO does not agree with prioritizing company culture?
Show me the money. I don't care if you're a nonprofit, manufacturing, retail, whatever. It's all about that bottom line. So when I was approaching the safety culture, I led in with, if I could save us $1 million, would you be willing to help me with some of my ideas? As soon as I started throwing money out there and that return on investment, they really perk up. And there's so many studies and statistics out there that will support a positive company culture. You can tie that to the bottom line. And that's been my approach, is if I can show you that return on investment in dollar signs, that tends to get everybody's buy-in. Kent, any other suggestions?
Oh, that you're right on. I'll just leave the answer with that. I think that's great.
This next question is directly for Dr. Gray. Can you give an example of how to calm two employees who are having a personal disagreement not related to work? I know a lot of your study and practice has been in de-escalation and all of that. So this question, I guess, is most related to that. So how can you give us an example of how to calm two employees who are having a personal disagreement not related to the workforce or other employees?
So I'm going to separate them at first and give them a chance to cool down. Because if they're together, it's just going to continue to escalate. So I'm going to put them in two separate rooms. I'm going to get them something to drink, whether it's a bottle of water, Coke, whatever. When they get to that logical point, then I'm going to talk to each one of them and set some ground rules. I want to bring y'all together, but we need to set some ground rules first. We're going to let so-and-so talk second. You can talk first. Don't interrupt. I'm going to ask some questions. I'll give you an opportunity to ask some questions and guide them down the road. You know where you need to take them. But if you make that apparent, sometimes they're a little bit more resistant. But if you can ask the right questions and set those ground rules at the beginning, that will really help, because you can always say, okay, y'all both agreed you're not talking when the other person's talking. Let's let him or her finish. So that's kind of the way I approach it.
Okay, that is all the questions that we have right now. And so, do you guys have anything else you want to add before we close out?
Yeah, I can add maybe an example under the well-being portion of my presentation. Any opportunity you can take as in leadership to promote and reinforce a company benefit that reinforces a value, like well-being, for example, that's great. So, with a prior employer, we'd often talk about our on-site medical clinic, and some employees agreed to share some of their stories around. I had this something was going on, and the nurse practitioner called it early, and now I'm still alive. I mean, those were very powerful stories, and we would take time in company monthly meetings to promote that. And then another unusual benefit is like a $300 stipend. Spend it any way you want. Well, you can't buy uh, alcohol or tobacco with it or use it on ammo, but just about any other reason, here's your money for, go out and take a wellness day, take a day off and go hunting or fishing or shopping or whatever you want to do, take a family trip, and then talk about those stories and let people share those stories, put them in, electronic bulletin boards, newsletters, talk about them in meetings, but reinforcement of your company benefits, your organization benefits, and how they lead to better living can be a very powerful cultural promoter of a great place to work.
Keeping those things top of mind and share.
Right. Right.
And I
Awesome.
like that idea, Kent. In addition, Walmart's really cheap right now, so you can go out and you can get poster boards or wherever you want to get them with employees' kids and grandkids on there. We used to hang those around the plant, and it's just a really attention grabber. Look, my grandkid's on a poster today. And it seemed to pump people up, especially when it's tied to information you need employees to know. So, great idea.
Yeah, I remember we had a kids poster contest once upon a time in an open house event. So and we had them hung up on the walls, and guess where the families went to when they showed up? Immediately to the see the poster or what the child had drawn or colored. Any way you can tie family back into work and the organization's culture, always a powerful motivator for folks.
Okay, we did have one more additional question come in during that time. I want to get it out there before we close up. It says state government exit interviews are typically related to salary, which we don't have much control over. Any ideas on addressing this before employee is leaving? So I guess, like not competitive salary, things like that. So any ideas on how to make up for that in other ways?
With
What
state government, push out the benefits. I'm telling you, after leaving state government, where I don't have the same health insurance plan and all of that, and the retirement plan, younger employees especially don't realize how valuable some of those things are. Holidays off with pay, those things can add up just as a past state employee. Kent, you were going to say something?
Exactly what you just said, Dr. Gray. Yes, absolutely. The benefits, an example of benefits. When I worked for XYZ before, I worked 6 and 7 days a week and couldn't take a day off. Now I have XYZ, all this, these days off, paid time, benefits. Yeah, in the soft things, in my experience, no one has ever paid enough. And that may be true in state government but it's true in manufacturing and everywhere else. Well, most surveys, people generally feel like they're not paid enough. So emphasize the great things and the pluses. Benefits would be top of mind with state government.
Had another couple more questions. Suggestions on how to implement flexible work schedules in a production environment for these younger generations who are seeking that work-life balance.
So it's hard to do, but if a company can have a robust enough training plan where people are certified, then I've seen companies use substitution systems. I got Joe to take my 4 hours this afternoon. I'm going to go do something. Well, Joe's also certified. That's kind of a preset authorized. Okay. Sometimes you have to go to a supervisor. Sometimes it can be preset, but allow subbing out for trained operators can be highly effective. And then, flexible attendance systems. Most people have in mind some version of a point system.
Mhm.
There are other things out there like percentage of time off as well. And then try to be as generous as you can with flexibility, where someone wants to be off and they've asked for time off and it's subject to approval. Try to maximize that flexibility to say okay when you can.
Another question. It says all the information shared was helpful and relevant. Yet one struggle is working through burnout. I have prioritized company culture for 5 years and it has been hard moving the needle. How can I re-energize staff to support the mission effectively?
Ask them. Recognize that burnout. I worked in EMS for 15 years and I felt every bit of that burnout. Sit down with your employees and recognize that emotion and say, you know what, we want you here, but I need to know what I can do to help you. Let them get engaged in that process. In addition, think outside the box, things you haven't come up with before. Maybe it's employees get to work and all of a sudden, we're not doing anything today. We're going to have a movie day or a TV day or whatever, if you can get away with it. In manufacturing, it's very tough, but bringing those folks in and recognizing they're at that burnout stage, what can I do to help you?
If you have the influence, organize a day away planning retreat with senior leaders or at least your team, and just getting away from work, even if it's half a day or even for a lunch, and having a meal together and maybe doing a team building activity, but talking about the big picture. Sometimes just backing up out of the daily fray for a time can do wonders on kind of a refocus and a re energizing folks to be better.
Next question. How do I handle a situation when ego flares up specifically for mature employees with the mindset that we've always done it this way? And they have that immediate defense. Additionally, it mentions after that this could be a supervisor or manager, an employee who's been there for a long time and is in that mindset of this is how it's always been, not as, eager to change.
You are exactly right. We have done it this way for years and we are so comfortable doing it. And now we've got these young folks coming in and they're wanting to do it a different way. Here's what I would request of you. Would you be willing to hear them out and us try things for just 2 or 3 weeks and let's see what happens? What are your ideas? We obviously, the younger generation, the new generation, the way we've always done it has worked, but do you think there's a way that we could make it work even better? I'm one of those people, I hate change. Anybody that says they like change, you lie. You lie, you lie, you lie. We don't like change, especially the older we get. We get stuck in our ways. Recognizing that change sucks is one step, but getting those older workers, especially like me, if you can get them to own some of it and have them start coming up with new ideas. Yes, I know this is the way we've always done it, but what do you think? You've got the experience. How can we make it better? Sometimes that will get them on that change bandwagon because that is tough.
I would add to that, people fear loss, really. I mean, change is about fearing loss. Well, let's talk about what we might gain. And sometimes I've even tried the approach, well, I'm pretty worried. Well, what are you worried about? Well, I'm pretty afraid that if we don't change and evolve and improve, we're going to be left behind and be out of business one day. So that reserve that maybe for the very worst of the worst stubborn folks. But we got to change and grow and improve, or we're going to die. And people need to hear that sometimes.
Thank you. Okay, now we're officially at the end of our Q&A session. I think we answered all that were in there. So, just want to thank everyone for joining our presentation on company culture. A link to today's recording of Virtually Speaking webinar will be emailed to all who've registered, along with the PowerPoint presentation and contact information for our speakers. Feel free to pass the link along to others who may benefit from the information shared in today's webinar. Please continue to follow us on social media, American Job Centers of Northwest Tennessee, American Job Centers of Southwest Tennessee, and American Job Centers Greater Memphis for our upcoming events and registration information for our future virtually speaking webinars. Thank you again, Dr. Gray. Thank you, Kent. We really appreciate all the information you shared, and we will get that information out to our attendees. So thank you all. Have a great day.
Thanks, everybody.